we can't become a team that has a rotating door with head coaches, right? Once we get rid of Lincoln Riley, we bring Barry Odom in. We got to give Barry Odom some time. And that's just in case you didn't know, that's my number one favorite to replace Lincoln Riley is Barry Odom. And then, we got to give these quarterbacks a little bit of time, especially these young guys. Like the next quarterbacks that we're going to have Maiva, who's pretty young. We're going to have Julian Lewis, who's young. And then we're going to have the guy from Folsom, who's young, right? We're not building. That's a different topic for a different day. But just the way we're building the roster, these guys are getting rushed in, and we're relying on athletic ability, and we're not relying on skill and coaching and improvement, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense. I mean, people are like already like you looking at 2026 for Rider Lions and all the different cast of characters that Lincoln Riley's bringing in. We want, I said it earlier in the year, everyone wants there to be a quick fix. And again, unfortunately, our situation is it would be great if there was a quick fix, but there's not. And there's a lot going on. I'm wanting to believe the NIL situation's fixed. Riley's talked about, we just need 4 or 5 wins. No, we needed 4 or 5 more dudes. Do you know what I mean? Like dudes in the trenches. We needed some tackle depth, either defensive tackle and offensive tackle depth. That's what this team really, really needed badly. I thought that we'd fade down the stretch with injuries because we didn't have the depth. We were fading in early October because we got hit by a slew of injuries, and that happens. That's football. But most teams have some veteran depth, some guys behind it. We have players. We got great players of depth, but we don't have veteran depth, and I think that's where USC ran into trouble. They tried plugging in some young guys, and the guys played well, but you can't expect these young guys to come in and play up against 5th-year and 6th-year seniors and bode well on the line.
Like, can I vent about that real quick now that you brought that up?
Yeah.
And this has been kind of a sore topic for me, and I've talked about it multiple times, but there's a new platform, maybe some new listeners. It doesn't make sense to me that if Woody Marks goes down, there's 2 guys behind Woody Marks that Woody Marks won't even be missed. And I say that in a depth way. It doesn't make sense to me that if one receiver goes down, it doesn't change anything with the receivers. It doesn't make sense to me that there's even depth at the O-line. But if a defensive lineman goes down, there's such a drop-off. If a defensive back goes down, there's such a drop-off. If a DB goes down, there's and I love Zion Branch. I see something in Zion Branch that I don't think a lot of people see. And Zion Branch, I just hope he comes back next year because Zion Branch is going to be a guy. Just give him some time. He's coming off injury, but he's a backup. There's such a difference between the depth and the defense and the offense, and that's where I think Lincoln Riley failed. He did not build a full team. He built his offense, and it's showing time and time again, and now it's showing regression because, like I said, we went from 10 wins to 7 wins. Now we might get 6. Like, if we keep going on the string, eventually we're going to be at 0. Like, we're not building any depth on the defense, and you're saying that, like, our guys got hurt on defense, and most of the injuries on defense, and we had to replace young guys. But why are we not at a point we're USC. Why are we not at a point to where if somebody went out, if somebody goes hurt, we should be able to plug and play? That's what all the elite schools do, and we're considering ourselves to be an elite school. We're supposed to be the mecca of college football, but you're not building a roster as a mecca of college football. You're building the offense to be this mecca of college football. That's just my rant. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I think that you on the defense side of the ball, I think there's some pretty good depth at linebacker. Matter of fact, we got some really great young linebackers coming in. I mean, and then our corners. The problem is we have kind of like the issue we had in 2022 with the offensive line. We're going to be losing a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot of this talented defense.
Mostly
this
all
defense, we're going to need guys to step up. But I mean, I believe in guys like Marcellus Williams. I think he's going to be something really special at USC. I think Braylon Shelby and Cameron Fountain, it's kind of hard, on the defensive line to come in right away and be an impact guy on the defensive line, just like it is difficult to come in and be an impact guy right away on the offensive line. I mean, Elijah Hughes has been flashing a little bit here and there. I really love what I saw Sam Green in the last game, and he was setting that edge. He was getting to the quarterback. there are guys, there are young pieces, coach. They're there. The thing is, it just seems like this year those guys are a little bit young, and the reason why is because there wasn't depth on the lines coming in. I mean, that's the one thing Lincoln Riley's been able to bring in your Addisons, your Caleb Williams, Jayden Maivas, guys like that. You can bring them in. The problem USC is having is landing consistently the interior linemen. I mean, you can't tell me if USC got a couple of top-notch interior defensive linemen and a couple of tackles, regardless of who was at quarterback this year, regardless of how many times we ran the ball, this would be a hell of a lot difference. The difference started and really pretty much ends to me on the offensive line. And they just have not been able to get the offensive line together this year.
Also, I just learned that Elijah Page is like a redshirt freshman or a redshirt sophomore or something like that. Like, and people are beating up on a redshirt freshman or a redshirt, whatever he is. Elijah Page is going to end up being a first-round draft pick. Yeah. Like, and the reason why I say that, like, you put him in the fire, he got beat up, and he's going to learn how to become a Big Ten lineman. Like, at the end of the day, and we talked about this last week on Salute to Troy. You said Elijah Page has learned how to become a Big Ten lineman. He's using his wingspan. He's now mauling guys. Just think about in 2 or 3 years how good this kid is going to be. I don't think the line is so much bad. I think it's the youth. You know what I mean? I like Aloha Nada. I like Elijah Page. There are pregnant and those guys are leaving, but I think I think the O-line was more young and not cohesive compared to skill, if that makes sense. And I think with Elijah Page and Aloha Nada and all these youngsters, and they bring in and they create something, I think they will be a lot better. But the problem is, by the time they get a lot better, is there going to be any changes record-wise? And will Lincoln Riley still be the head coach? Because at this point, he's running out of time. You know what I mean? So that's just what I see. That's how I evaluate it.
They need this. They really need this class to stick together. This defense line, because they have on the offensive line and the defensive line for the past couple of years. Now, the first year they got here, there just wasn't enough time to recruit. That recruiting class was almost, really high school wise was just almost ways. But on the lines they had been recruiting, I mean, last year, I'm a big fan of Ratmana Bulabulavu. That guy is I think, can be Carlin Jones. You're going to see, we have the nucleus of young guys, but they're going to be, young guys, and you can't rely on young guys to be that position. So at some point, this NIL, I mean, you look at Ohio State, they're bragging about making, they're spending $20 million on their recruit, on their NIL.
Yeah.
You have Oregon, who's spending God knows how much on their NIL. Coach, who are the two best teams pretty much in the Big Ten?
Oregon and Ohio State. They
definitely have the best rosters. Yeah. Indiana's going to have something to say about that, but they definitely have the best rosters. And it kind of helps if you have, there's always an age-old conversation about the Jimmies and Joes or the X's and O's. It's both. Look at your Pete Carroll teams. It's both. Could you could have all the Jimmies and Joes. If you don't have the coaching, then you end up with teams that look really great and then fade in the big games, kind of like Ohio State has done a lot of. They've had great rosters, but they just can't get over that hump. I think that's coaching. It's not the Jimmies and Joes. It's the X's and the O's. So you need both. And the problem with USC is it just seems like they haven't been able to get out of their own ways when it comes to NIL, when it comes to roster building. Now, I will tell you, I'm glad to hear that Jen Cohen and USC are looking to have that GM type role, coach, where you have a situation where you literally, because this is what it is now. This is not, you can't have your wide receivers coach as your recruiting coordinator anymore. Those days are gone. You need to have a person there that's working on the contracts, to understand the money behind everything, building a roster, having a team around him in order to get these rosters put together. This is not old school recruiting. And when they get that GM in there, it releases a lot of responsibility from the coaches and everyone, and they can get in there and they can do their job, like you're seeing with the Oregons, like you're seeing with the Alabamas of the world. That's roster construction in the 2020s.
The question is, and I've been seeing a lot of these GM jobs. The question is, and I don't know because it's kind of new to me, but like, what guys are they picking up for these GM jobs? Like, are they picking up like the the street agents? Are they picking up legit people like building rosters? Are they picking up like old NFL GMs? Do you know anything? I don't know much about it, and I see it every now and then. But who are these guys that are the GMs? Because I know Alabama's GM is like legendary, but who are these GMs? Are they just like old recruiting coordinators that are now general managers for like college football? How does it work? Do you know anything about it?
No, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it, but it's more like I just said, it's not really the traditional recruiting coordinator. It's more the guys that are just roster development and have the connections and can work the NIL aspect of this thing, making it more professional. Do you know what I mean?
I'll take that job. You heard me? I'll take that job. I'll take that job all day.
I mean, one thing I've been questioning as well, a little bit, not a whole bunch, but like we're spoiled. You're spoiled. Pete Carroll, I think, was one of the best coaches when it came to being able to identify talent that could be developed. You know, a lot of those guys that became great players at USC, they weren't 5 stars. Sure, SC had a lot of great 5 stars. But I mean, you need to be able to go out there and get the guys that whatever the recruiting services say, but go out and get the guys that no one's recruited, but you see something in them, right? And you bring them along and you make them something special. I think that's where USC's kind of missed. USC's kind of missed out on some of these big name guys that really just haven't really developed. Now, part of that was the previous coaching staff and the previous defensive the previous defensive staff. I get that. I mean, look no further in Damani Jackson, how well he's doing, after he left.
Yeah.
So it's going to be difficult to see, but the Trojan fans out there that think that we're going to turn this thing around by just bringing in a quarterback, I'm really interested. Look, it gives us a lot of hope because, again, whatever you want to weigh in on, this year has been really difficult on Miller Moss. The season has been a long season, and he really has begun to struggle. So this is something new. It's a new start. It's almost like a kickstart, a fresh start, right? And I'm hoping that USC takes advantage of it. But you guys got to let Jayden be the player he is. He's not Superman. I'm just worried about people overreacting after game 1 if he struggles in any way, shape, or form. I think he comes out. I think they have a great game plan. And I do believe that he's going to have the talent around him to complement his skills, coach.